Hello, my name is Sherry Allison, and today I will be presenting Developmental and Family Life Cycle Theory, or DFLC for short. The DFLC is based on traditional nuclear family. The framework for this theory starts with the fact that each family goes through developmental stages. Stress occurs at each of these stages or stages of development. This theory aims to help providers anticipate and identify the need for services and support throughout the family life cycle to help them effectively transition through the stages. Here is a list of developmental theorists who formed and furthered the work of family nursing care. Evelyn Duval was the leading theorist of this theory. Hill analyzed the theory concerning single families. McGoldrick, Garcia Pareto, and Carter expanded the theory to include family structures of all kinds, including divorced families, LGBTQ families, and step families. And finally, Walsh and Walsh explored the life cycle and the family's ability to endure and bounce back from adversity to increase family resilience. This theory is based on these three key concepts. The family is viewed as a whole. Families develop and change over time, and families experience transitions from one stage to the next, which can be stressful initially until the family adjusts to these changes. At each stage, specific tasks must be successfully mastered before moving on to the next stage, according to this theory. Healthy families adapt, achieve stability, and realign their relationships as a result of these changes. I would argue that some families do not successfully master these stages before moving on to future stages, as when certain family members, such as parents, become ill or there is trauma and mental illness. This diagram shows the developmental stages or life cycles presented in this theory. For the sake of space, I have combined a few stages, and because I will be interviewing a nuclear family, I have chosen to represent this type of family in my diagram. The first stage begins with the couple gets married. This can be a nuclear or non-nuclear family. The second stage is childbearing families with infants. The third is preschool age children. Next, you have school age children, followed by teenage years. Then comes the launching years when the young adults leave home, followed by middle-aged years when the initial couple refocuses on their relationship. And finally, retired adults or aging families. I hope to travel when I retire someday, so I have shown this couple traveling in their retired years, although there is an adjustment to the grandparenting stage, as well as potentially adjusting to the death of a spouse and living alone as well. According to Duval's theory, the family is viewed over time and is the basic social unit of society. Health results from genetic, biological, social, behavioral, economic contexts that change as a person develops. The timing and sequence of these contexts influence the health and development of individuals and families. I also conceptualize that health is the impact that disease or illness can have on the members of the family and their roles, as well as how their movement through these normative developmental stages is impacted. The environment is defined as the cognitive, social, emotional, spiritual, and developmental dynamics of the family system and how they interact and change over time. And according to my conceptual definition, nursing care centers around the family, the entire family. It involves assessing, analyzing, and planning in regard to the basic family tasks at each developmental stage and how well the family is adjusting. As nurses know the tasks at each stage, they can better anticipate and guide the family. Because this theory is an older model, there has been limited research within the past 10 years on how this theory has been applied to family nursing practice or family care specifically. However, this theory has become the foundation of other vital theories that have impacted and further developed family nursing care. The DFLC model views family as a single generational unit that goes through the same developmental stages over time and is universal, which may only partially be relevant today. The systemic family development model expands on these limitations by adding components of family systems theory. Combining these two theories, SFD model defines families as a complex multi-generational systems that all experience tremendous variation in how they grow and develop. This evolving theory is valid because not all families have the same composition as the nuclear family. And even though some families may not have children, they still go through developmental stages. However, these stages may look different than the stages of the DFLC model. Some families have more contact and help from extended family members and community members, while other single unit families are a single unit with little outside support at all. Being aware of these differences is an essential contribution to caring for families. The SFD model is a more current and broader up-to-date expansion of the DFLC model. In the Calgary Family Assessment Model, Wright and Leahy used the fundamental concepts of the DFLC model and theory in the development and assessment tools. They add a postmodern view that is more prevalent now than in the 1970s, such as LGBTQ, divorced, and step families. The Calgary Family Assessment Model is a theory that improves and makes development and family life cycle theory more relevant today and is widely used in family nursing practice. The research I found on for this theory, while limited, focused on the family life cycle stages and transitions. The first article looked at the transitions in the family life cycle to see what events may relate to the development of eating disorders. Barge and colleagues found that a lack of needed support at vital stages of transitions, such as families with adolescents and in the launching years, may precipitate the onset of eating disorders. The events they found occurring at these stages that increased the risk were school transitions, the death of a family member, relationship changes, home and job transitions, illness, and abuse. When adolescents had decreased support during these events, it tended to increase the incidence of developing an eating disorder. They proposed that more research was needed to create interventions that reduce the stress of the transition periods, as well as increasing coping and adaptation of adolescents and family members to prevent eating disorders. This study is an example of how applying the DFLC theory in family assessment can help nurse practitioners assess and identify critical transitional stages in families and offer support where needed. The second article examined women's long-term marital sexual satisfaction in intimate relationships at various life cycle stages. Falah and colleagues found a positive and significant correlation between sexual and marital satisfaction in the first 3 family stages of the life cycle. These stages were beginning a family, childbearing family, and preschool-aged children. They also found a decrease in sexual satisfaction in the last 3 stages: teenage years, launching or empty nest, and retirement. However, despite this decrease in sexual pleasure, they actually found that there was still an increase in marital satisfaction. They concluded that deepening the relationship and other factors through later life stages can also contribute to marital satisfaction. This is important when assessing couples moving into these later stages of development and helping them evaluate and incorporate the things that make them feel most satisfied in their committed relationships. I have chosen to use the developmental and family life cycle model to assess my family because they are a traditional nuclear family. They have 2 teens and a 4-year-old. Having a baby in their 40s has impacted their transition through the developmental life cycle stages. As they get ready to launch their teens into adulthood, their youngest will be entering school age stage, which may have an impact on their launching stage. In this family, which is simultaneously experiencing different stages, I look forward to using this model to assess their strengths and areas for improvement. I will also use this model to assess where adequate support or additional support is needed. And here are the references for this presentation. Thank you very much for your time and for listening.